It's not the biggest game in Dak's career, but could it be the most telling game in Dak's career? At home, second most Pro Bowlers in the league, facing a backup. Feels like you got to win that one convincingly, right? You're at home, Gardner Minshew. You got all sorts of Pro Bowlers, run games rolling. Go back to Dak's career. It's interesting. He's incredibly likable. 4th-round pick. Not a beautiful thrower. Really nice kid. Year 1, he goes 13-3. And we no longer call him Dak Prescott. We just, from that point forward, call him Dak. America's team has replaced the polarizing, semi-popular Tony Romo. They've got their guy. America's team's got Dak. 13-3. He gets most of the credit. In year 2, Zeke gets suspended. Immaturity. They go 9-7. The run game isn't there, and Dak's passer rating goes from 105 to 86. Clearly signaling Dak needs a run game. That's why he went in the 4th round. But Dak didn't get any criticism. It was Zeke. Zeke was immature. Zeke's not dependable. Zeke's getting a big head. Zeke's not a team guy. Then we go to year 3. Dallas's scoring's not very good. They're like 22nd in the league in scoring. Now Jason Garrett gets criticized. That guy's not creative. It's time to go. You've been here long enough, not a lot of wins. Year 4, now Zeke's not as good. Running game's not as profound. Tony Pollard's not there yet doing anything big. And Jason Garrett, 8-8. Jason's got to go. And you also hear this getting blamed. Distractions. When is Jerry going to pay Dak? It's I mean, Dak's got that thing hanging over his head. How can he concentrate? Year 2, Zeke gets blamed. Year 3 and 4, it's Garrett. Then distractions come in. Year 5, McCarthy's in. Dak gets hurt. Let's throw that away. Last year's year 6, 12-5. Dak is rolling. Offense is back. Tony Pollard emerges. And they lose in the playoffs. And who gets blamed? Mike McCarthy. So Zeke's immaturity. Garrett can't coach. Distractions got blamed. Now it's Mike McCarthy. And here we are in year 7. Dak's team is loaded. Number 1 in forcing turnovers. Number 2 in sacks. It's not the defense. Number 2 in rushing touchdowns. It's not the run game. Offensive line is better than most of us thought it would be. Second most Pro Bowlers, players everywhere. And Dak is 6-3, and in the losses has cost them games. Outdueled by Rodgers, Brady, and Trevor Lawrence. All considered more talented. In those 3 losses, Dak has completed just 60% of throws. With CeeDee Lamb? With that tight end? His passer rating's been in the 70s. 6 TDs, 5 picks. When things go right, and I understand why, because he's really likable. Great at the podium. Looks and sounds like a Cowboy quarterback. When things go well, it's constantly Dak is underappreciated. When things go south, Jerry's creating noise. What about the distractions? Zeke is immature and eroding. Garrett can't coach. McCarthy can't run the clock. So here we are at home. Great defense. Profound running game. CeeDee Lamb has emerged as a number 1. Facing Gardner Minshew. It's got to be a resounding win, right? Jerry is always at his back. But even Jerry has noticed this year. Jerry now is noticing in some of these games, Dak is making too many mistakes. Just a little doubt for the first time on Dak from Jerry Jones. At home, second most Pro Bowlers, Gardner Minshew, really healthy. Dallas needs to win and probably should win comfortably. All right, so when you vote for the Pro Bowl, fans get a third of the vote, coaches get a third of the vote, and players get a third of the vote. The fans overwhelmingly voted Tua as the Pro Bowl quarterback. But among players and coaches, he scored so poorly Despite overwhelming support from the fans, he did not make the Pro Bowl in the AFC. Mahomes did, Josh Allen did, Joe Burrow did, all absolutely appropriately did. The people that compete against Tua, watch film against Tua, game plan against Tua, see it completely differently. I've said before, I think Tua is a much better throwing version of Tim Tebow, a Christian left-handed Southern quarterback who won a national title at a powerhouse, incredibly decent, human, likable, embraceable. And what made Tebow popular is largely what makes Tua popular. Most pro athletes feel removed from us. They're 6'10" or 290 pounds of muscle. They're brash. They're rich. They live in neighborhoods we can't afford. We just drive by. But Tebow and Tua feel vulnerable and flawed. Tua's small size also helps. They feel like us. Do the Dolphins privately believe in Tua? I've got my doubts. But I will say this. Unlike the Chicago Bears, whose first 2 draft picks were a corner and a safety, their third pick's a bust at wide receiver, and they hired a defensive coach. Unlike the Patriots with Mac Jones, who hired a defensive coordinator and put him on the offensive coordinator side, still have no weapons. Miami did it differently. They made a very abrupt pivot. Defensive guy to a brilliant offensive coach from a proven system, got him a great left tackle and the fastest football player in the world. They also added some nice running backs. Whether or not Miami publicly supports Tua doesn't matter. Eventually, I do believe you'll see the ceiling if he has to go toe-to-toe with Mahomes or Allen or Burrow in a playoff game. But Miami has proven this is the way to do it. It enhances the chances for success. Justin Fields is running for his life. Mac Jones is screaming at the coaches. Tua is good enough to get you to the playoffs. And Miami, which has done almost nothing right for 20 years in the NFL, deserves a tip of the cap. Whether I love Tua as a quarterback, I love him as a guy, I think he's an amazing story, and Miami has figured out how to support a young person who's got flaws, who isn't perfect. Say it again, one of my favorite games of the weekend to watch, probably my favorite. Green Bay goes to Miami. I think Tua rebounds. I know the Packers are healthy. Can't wait to watch Sunday. I think it's the best game on TV. Green Bay going to Miami. People are burying Tua now. Be the first to admit, I've said, cold weather, Buffalo, Cincy, I don't see him pulling that out. But I did think in Buffalo, he executed the game plan. He wasn't outstanding, 17 of 30, but he was certainly good enough to win. Now he comes back home against a team, I think, with major flaws defensively. Tua's maybe not my favorite quarterback, but I appreciate how Miami has done business. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.